So what am I talking about today? I'm talking about eating alone or eating in company or both. Sometimes people say to me, oh, I really have a problem eating alone. I can't eat alone. I can only eat when someone else is there to either make me eat or watch me eat. And then someone else will say, oh, I can't eat in company. I can only eat alone. And the truth is that you usually don't have a problem with either of those things. You don't have a problem actually with eating alone or actually with eating in front of other people. What's happening is that your brain, scared of weight gain, is just working out ways in which to make unrestricted eating less likely. It's working out ways to make eating in general more difficult. It's putting obstacles in between you and being able to eat lots of food. And the reason it's doing that is because it's smart and because it's like, well, more obstacles I put in here, the less chance of that fearful, dreaded weight gain. And so your brain's just being clever when it's doing that. And you'll find that it'll often switch dependent on the situation. So in some circumstances, you may feel that you can only eat with other people there. In some circumstances, you may feel that you can only eat without other people there. I certainly had that. My brain didn't have many conventions, sort of, oh, I can only eat when other people there, or, oh, I can only eat on my own. It didn't have any straightforward ones. It had a mishmash of all of those things. And so most commonly, I always wanted to eat on my own. And mostly that was because I was so weird when I ate. I couldn't eat anything like, I don't know, just the way that people eat food. I had to eat everything just kind of gross and weirdly. Like, you should have seen me eat a tonic tea cake when I had an eating disorder. It would take about 30 minutes, which is crazy and disordered in itself. And I would, like, piece by piece pick off the chocolate and then suction out the marshmallow bit and then gnaw or suck on the biscuit part. Like, disgusting. And no one wants to see that. And I was aware of that. So that, for that reason, a lot of the time I wanted to eat on my own because I ate like a monkey, I guess. Even monkeys wouldn't eat like that, would they? Anyway, but also sometimes I couldn't eat unless everybody was there to watch it. And so an example with that would be if I did go back to my parents' house, say family dinner, and everybody sat down to dinner and one person's late or something, and everybody else just starts eating and tucking in. My brain couldn't deal with that sort of situation. It just couldn't. I needed everybody there. And the reason for that is because I needed to know that I was eating slightly less than everybody there. And if one person at the table wasn't there, then how would I know how much that they were going to eat? And so I couldn't start eating until they got there and started eating, could I? That's how my brain went anyway. And made absolute sense to me at the time. But it was a bit crippling and quite anxiety provoking because, as most of you know, a lot of the time when you have an eating disorder, you're fucking starving. And so I'd be really hungry going to this family dinner because I probably exercised all day and not really eaten anything. And I'd get there and I'd be hangry. So I'd be irritable and ratty and pretty horrible to everybody. And then everybody else is just having a nice time, having a drink, eating some nuts or some crisps like normal people do before they're going to eat a meal. And I'd be sitting there, I don't know, sucking on a piece of lime, whatever it was that I used to do. And then somebody doesn't turn up and everyone's like, oh, we'll sit down and eat. And I'll be like, no, we should wait for them. Everyone's like, oh, they're so silly. They'll turn up when they turn up. And then I'd have to sort of sit there awkwardly pushing a pea around the plate, waiting for said person to actually get there before I felt that I could start to consume anything at all. And sometimes they'd be really late and then it would get really awkward because people would start looking at me being like, what's she doing with that pea? And I'd be just like, oh, I'm just busy. I'm just arranging my food. I'm like stalling. Oh, I'm really interested in talking about this subject, actually. I'm just really into talking about whatever it is Dad's going on about. That's the reason that I'm not actually eating right now. And in the back of my mind, I'm getting so pissed off with whomever it was that didn't show up. And then they'd show up and then I'd have to wait for them to get seated and get eating, and then I'd start be able to actually maybe consume some food, but I'd have to keep a close eye on making sure that I wasn't consuming any more than anyone else was consuming. Eating disorders are so fucking boring, aren't they? The fact that I can even talk you through that, and that most of you, and pretty much all of you watching this, will be sitting there going, yeah, I get that. Yeah, yeah. And it's so boring in the sense that I'm sitting there and that's all I'm thinking about. All I'm thinking about is when's this person going to turn up, and it's pissing me off that they're not here. And everybody else is actually, I don't know, thinking about other things that's slightly more normal and interesting. That's just the thing that really used to get me about my eating disorder. The subject matter was so tedious. And it's quite incredible, actually, when you look back on it. Think, how did my brain stay occupied with that shit for so long? How did I not literally bore myself to death just being me, thinking of the stupid, made up, round and round in circles, let's jump through this hoop, no, let's jump through that hoop, let's jump through all the hoops at once. Shit that my brain used to go through. Well, that's one of the best things about being recovered. I just don't care about any of that anymore. It wouldn't even occur to me if someone was not there not to start eating. I mean, I guess that's a bit rude, but you know what I mean. If it's family and stuff like that, whatever. Sisters can go and do whatever they're doing. In fact, I'd kind of be like, oh, good, all the more for me. Get first dibs on everything. But then that would be a fleeting thought. And the rest of the time, I'd just be thinking about stuff. I don't know, families are always full of drama, aren't there? Something going on. And I'd be thinking about that stuff and chatting about that stuff and not thinking about the boring crap that used to go on and on in my head when I had an eating disorder. I'd also be less irritable. I am less irritable. And there's nothing I like more than a glass of wine and some crisps before a meal. Nothing I like more. Bit of nuts as well. And it's the small things in life that actually make life worth living, is what I've discovered. And it's the small things when you have an eating disorder most often that actually drive you batshit crazy. That's what I discovered as well. It's just those small little things of being the person that has to hover at the back of the room, being the person that can't just join in with all of this stuff, being the person that just has to be slightly weird about everything. And you feel superior about it at the time, until you don't. And for most of us, that really is the turning point. When you're in that honeymoon period with your eating disorder, you feel so superior and everyone else is just normal people who can't do the things that you can do, and they're not on the mission that you're on. And then that starts to wear off over the years, and you just start to realize you're not superior at all. You're just sad. Like everyone else is just making themselves happy in their lives, and you're not. And it stops feeling like an advantage, because it's not, but it feels like it to start with. And it starts to feel like a massive disadvantage. I can't remember what I was talking about. Oh yeah, eating alone or eating with other people. And so a lot of people with eating disorders find that it's not just one set rule. It's the rule that suits whatever situation that you're in, which is one of the things that makes eating disorders so infuriating for other people. In some situations, I can't eat because I'm on my own. In other situations, I can't eat because there's people here. And people are just like, make your fucking mind up. If they're parents or sort of people that are trying to be caregivers to people with eating disorders. But the thing to realise is that it's not actually about any of that. It's not actually about not being able to eat in front of people or only being able to eat in front of people. It's actually about your brain messing around, trying to work out, in this situation right here, how can I make the task of eating food as difficult for everybody involved as possible. That's really what your brain's doing. So I guess my advice to you right now is just stop going along with it. Stop being difficult. Just let it be easy. I know it sounds like it's a ridiculous thing for me to say, but I lived through it, so I know it. You can just stop allowing it to be difficult, and you can just start allowing it to be easy. And I know that you know that. But I know you're afraid of doing that because you're like, if I let go of all these rules, if I just knock down all these obstacles that I put there, my brain's put there between me and eating, well, I guess if I did that, I'd probably just eat a lot of food, wouldn't I? You probably would. And you'd probably live happily ever after and all. All right, bye.